Did you wake up this morning wondering how we've survived as a species this long with C-section rates as high as they are, or is it just me? My name is Jamie, also known as your midwife bestie. I've been attending births for over a decade. It seems like everybody is ending up with a C-section, so today we're going to talk about how often they happen, why they happen, and what can be done to prevent them. First, let's start off with statistics. In the US, most hospitals have a C-section rate for low-risk women of around 30%. Now, this number may be higher with different providers or different practices. To put that into context, that means 1 in 3 healthy women walking into a hospital to have a baby will end up with a C-section. What does the World Health Organization have to say about that? They say the rate should be closer to 15%. Just to clarify, that is 3 in 20 women going to the hospital should end up with a C-section, and significantly less likely. There are plenty of valid reasons that a C-section should be performed. Babies in bad positions, placentas that are covering the cervixes, or babies that don't tolerate labor well. So why are surgical births being performed at alarming rates? There's a couple reasons. When I started getting involved in birth work in 2013, it was a common thing that you would hear that obstetricians prefer the golf course more than they prefer being at a birth. Now, I wish that was true because unfortunately the truth is much bleaker than that. It's likely your obstetrician didn't plan on having a high C-section rate when they started medical school, but because hospitals are shutting down left and right, providers at the hospitals still standing are often understaffed and overworked. On top of that, they're constantly being threatened with lawsuits. So it's their goal to not only try to ensure the safest deliveries, but also to protect themselves in a lawsuit. Unfortunately, a C-section is the safest birth for an obstetrician to perform, even if they're not safest for the women receiving them. In fact, a provider will often recommend a repeat C-section for a woman who has had a previous C-section, stating the increased odds of a uterine rupture. Now, uterine rupture is a complication that is associated with previous C-sections. However, there's more risk for the woman to go through another C-section and for any subsequent pregnancies. Another reason that C-section rates are through the roof is because elective inductions. When women's bodies are being forced to give birth before they're ready, they often lead to failure to progress and subsequent C-sections. While these are the two most common reasons that women end up with C-sections in the US, that definitely varies from country to country. I currently live in a European country where the C-section rate is over 80%, which to be honest is quite shocking to learn. And the reason for that is women do not trust their bodies to give birth and prefer a C-section because they feel it's the safest route. So, what can be done to decrease the odds of ending up with a C-section? First, check out the link below to find my guide for how to write an effective birth plan your provider will respect. This isn't your regular birth plan with pretty pictures where you hand it over and hope for the best. This birth plan gives parents the tools to research not only provider policies, but hospital policies. That way, when the big day arrives, you have realistic goals and expectations, and instead of seeing your provider as an opponent, you see them as working on the same team as you. Second, hire a doula. Most first-time parents think that this is unnecessary, but I guarantee you it is not and may be the difference between a vaginal birth and a C-section. A common reason that women end up with C-sections is because they go to the hospital too early, which increases the odds of interventions and subsequently increases the odds of ending up with a C-section. So when interviewing a doula, find one that's comfortable offering labor support at home until it's time to go to the hospital. Third, avoid an unnecessary induction. So unless there's a medical reason, just say no. For more info on pregnancy, childbirth, and the postpartum period, hit subscribe to follow along.